Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Words Have Power Murder Hour. We're here today with a special guest, and we're going to be talking about cosplay is not consent. So within the cosplay community, there are problems with creepy people.
Introduce yourself.
Right. My name is Shelley. I am the research extraordinaire, and my brain might be melting out of my ears.
And I'm Marcus, the tech wizard extraordinaire. And with us today, we have a very special guest, Harlequin, from Haunted Harlequin Cosplay and Crafts.
Not quite. HarlequinArts Cosplay and Crafts, my YouTube channel, for those of you who like weird haunted things, is the Haunted Harlequin.
You have so much stuff going on, it is very hard to keep track of it all.
I have a sign. Just read the sign and you'll be good.
So today we're going to be, as I said before, we're going to be talking about cosplay is not consent and all of the weird different issues that come up in the cosplay community, and a woman's perspective of that. And I actually have my own story with the cosplay community, a couple of them actually, and I guess we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, I think we all have a couple of stories from conventions that we've attended.
Yeah. So let's see. The first thing was, what is consent? So consent would be, instead of just reaching out and touching someone, ask them if you can touch them or hug them or take a picture of them or what have you. You know, whatever it is that you want to do.
Permission.
Huh?
It's a fancy word for getting permission.
Yeah. It's very simple. It's kind of like in kindergarten when they tell you not to touch anyone else. Keep your hand to yourself. It's pretty simple, pretty basic.
I mean, we learned it in kindergarten.
Yeah. If I can teach a 2-year-old not to hit or touch without consent, then I'm pretty sure grown-ups can get it. So I guess the first bullet point I have here is, well, it's don't touch without consent. So is there anything you would like to say about that, Harlequin?
A lot of times, and I'm not going to say this is conscious on their part, people just get excited, but their brain switches off and they don't think. I'm going to use myself as an example because, again, things we learned in kindergarten, just use yourself as an example. Don't use anyone else. When I'm dressed up, especially when I'm running contests or when I have a booth somewhere, people tend to forget that I am a person. What they see is they see their favorite character and they get excited because they see a character who maybe has made just a huge impact on their life, and they get excited, they want to interact with this character. Forget that I'm a person, and you can't just run up and hug me or run up and touch me, or I've got so many stories I can get into, which I can actually give you guys footage for the story I'm about to tell. I have it on camera. We live streamed this entire costume contest. I've got rules that I kind of put into the prejudging paperwork. You know, they're basic things like you have to be in costume. If you don't show up, your spot is forfeit. If you show up late, you can still walk, but you can't win. Things like that. Well, we had to add another one because of this incident. I was in my full wedding Harley Quinn, so I'm in a black and red spray painted ball gown style wedding dress with a train on it that I got at a secondhand store. So I can't really move because of the amount of fabric in this dress. I'm hosting, I'm doing my thing, I'm in character, and this absolutely fantastic Jason cosplayer from Friday the 13th walks up on stage. Huge guy. I don't really remember how tall he was, but I remember him being rather large as a human being. I'm not talking fat. I'm just talking like he's a bigger person.
Mm-hmm. Tall guy.
Yeah, tall guy, stocky, but not fat. This guy, he's doing very well. He's doing his Jason thing across the stage, and I'm a character actor. I'm an entertainer. My job on that stage is to do stupid crap so the audience stays entertained. So in full Harley, I just go, yeah, no, and walk off stage. Now to get back on stage, I have to walk past this guy because you walked up one side and down the other. There's no way around that. As I'm trying to, wiggle my way past this guy, he bends his knees a bit, just throws his arm around my waist, tosses me over his shoulder, and walks off stage. We almost went over the railing on the ramp going down backstage because the center of gravity shifted so much.
Wow.
I just froze because I didn't want to die.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I watched my poor co-host, who was, the Joker in a tuxedo, my friend Rolando, I've known him for years. He is absolutely brilliant. One of the best improvers I know. He works for Disney level improv.
Wow.
Just completely froze, had no words, had no solution. He was just kind of staring at me.
Deer in the headlights.
Oh, yeah. 2 of my judges stood up. My friend Billy and my friend Cookie both stood up, ready to, I don't know what they were going to do, but they're like, okay, bad, this wasn't planned. Mm-hmm. And I think I could see my friend Dan's hands start clenching. Like, I was put down. It was fine. We played it off. I don't think anyone knew. Show went on.
Right.
But one of our new rules is do not touch your hosts unless you have previously worked something out. Which, you know what? I'm a pretty open person. If the Jason had asked me, sure. Hell yes. But he didn't, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Someone really could have gotten hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and
Go ahead.
I know that a lot of cosplayers' costumes are kind of fragile too, so he could have destroyed your costume doing that.
He stepped on my train earlier that day, so part of my bodice was held together with safety pins.
Oh. Yeah. I had an experience at a really, really small con. I don't even know what the name of it was. This was years ago. I was kind of loosely dressed as Cry for Dawn. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for certain, like, comic books and whatnot. And I was there with a friend, but we got split up. Somehow I found myself surrounded by a bunch of Truckies, like guys dressed up in like the red shirts and the yellow shirts and all that. And they were picking at my dress. And I was like swatting their hands away and yelling at them to leave me alone, get away from me. And they kept like trying to grope me and stuff. And I was like getting ready to throw down. I am not the person to get touchy with. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was like the parting of the Red Sea. All these Klingons come walking up. And this ginormous dude dressed like he looked like he walked out of Star Trek. And he was a Klingon. And he like grabbed me, sat me on his shoulder. And this woman with him, she like kind of leaned in and was like, I'm his wife. He's not going to do anything. And he like yelled at the Trekkies in Klingon. I have no idea what he said, but it sounded pretty brutal. And he walked off and all of the Klingons left. And I'm like, I'm being rescued. Like in my head, I'm thinking, I'm being rescued by Klingons from Star Trek, like ensigns and shit who should know better.
You were rescued from Starfleet by the Klingons.
And I'm in my mind, I'm like,
in my mind, more ironic if it was the Romulans or something like that.
Right. I was like, isn't this all kinds of wrong? And it's like flipped or something? Like what?
A little bit.
Yeah. And so it turned out like, he sat me down and he was like, are you okay? Is your costume okay? Did I, destroy your costume? We can replace it, whatever. And I was like, no, I mean, it was a thrift store find that just happened to work really well with that cosplay. And I didn't have time to actually make something.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was just like a lark. Me and my friends are going to go last minute, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I became actually really good friends with them and would go out to like goth clubs and they'd be all dressed up and Klingon, and there's me.
At the goth club.
Yeah, and I was like, y'all should you could dress up anytime you want in a goth club. Nobody will even look twice at you,
Fair point.
So yeah, they started going to goth clubs and all that. And it was really kind of weird, but kind of good. I was really thankful that they, did that, because I don't know what would have happened if somebody hadn't stepped in. It was bizarre.
The thing I've noticed is a lot of the cosplay guys, the guys that cosplay, kind of picked up on the thing that happens to women, because, and I want to say blanket statement, this is not an all men thing. This is not an all everyone thing. I have just noticed from personal experience, more often than not, it is the guys with the either women don't like me because I'm nerdy mindset. Can I curse on this?
Yes, you've cursed.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yes.
Okay. It's the guys who have the women don't like me because I'm nerdy mindset, when really women don't like you because you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Or the incel mindset guys. Occasionally you get a guy that's just really excited, and those ones are really reasonable when you call them out. But the first two won't listen to women when we say, fuck off.
Yeah.
They don't, they just, our opinion doesn't matter. And a lot of the thing about Comic-Cons is the people that are outcasts go to Comic-Cons because they feel like they belong. So you get a lot of those guys at Comic-Cons, sadly. And a lot of guys that cosplay have seen this and have been stepping up because they realize, it doesn't matter if I'm wearing a skirt and I'm dressed as Sailor Moon. I'm a guy. They're going to listen to me. I've had the entirety of the Tampa Garrison 501st escort me around, not the entire, but it was 5 stormtroopers and Darth Maul, because his name is Shannon. He's a wonderful human being. He's a first responder, actually. Nice. All kinds of people in this field. But that was because this guy who had a weird Harley fetish and had in the past held a Bowie knife to my throat wouldn't stop following me around the con.
Wow,
so Darth Maul stepped in, and Shannon is very much in character at all points in time. He does look very intimidating, even though he's a giant teddy bear. I had Darth Maul and 5 stormtroopers surrounding me. And I think it was you that told me you had a similar incident with stormtroopers. Yeah. I almost guarantee you that was the 501st. You do get some branches that are kind of not great themselves, but for the most part, the 501st guys are some of the first to step in when something's going wrong.
Yeah, the situation I had, I didn't realize there was a guy like following me, I guess. Mm-hmm. This was like the last day of a convention and I was going up to take my cosplay off. And I was completely covered from the neck down. Like you couldn't see any skin, right? And I don't even remember what I was cosplaying. I think it was like a Final Fantasy character or something. I don't remember. This guy was following me and I kind of realized it. Like he was mashing me step for step. Mm-hmm. And he'd been kind of acting creepy down on the con floor, but I didn't realize he'd followed me up. So I was going to just pass my room, go down to the other set of elevator doors and just go back down to the desk and say something to them. Mm-hmm. But I didn't get a chance because coming from the opposite side where I was heading from the other elevators, were stormtroopers. And then behind us, I looked around and there were stormtroopers behind him. And they kind of converged, grabbed him, and just left. They didn't say anything to me. The one just nodded his head at me, but they just grabbed him and left. Like, I was like, I have no idea what just happened here. You know, and I could hear one of the stormtrooper guys telling him, "We told you not to mess with the girls. We told you."
And that's another thing. You do get certain guys that, these ones are pretty rare, but you do get certain guys that go to cons because they know there'll be girls there. And they assume that the only girls that will go to cons are the ones that don't have any self-esteem. Because again, for the most part, people go to cons because we're the outcasts, because we're the weird ones. Cons are home for us, but what these people don't understand is that outside of my cosplay life, I'm a professional model. I have dealt with more than my fair share of creepers, and I have some very creative ways to call people out when they're being creepy. Ironically, though, you'd think I'd get groped mostly in this, in Zool, or in Catwoman. It's in this, where I am covered from head to, literally from head to toe, face paint and all. I do not have a single bit of skin showing. Because she's such a popular character, you get a lot of the people who forget that I'm a human being. And I think one of the biggest parts of consent with cosplay specifically is listening when, not just getting permission, it's listening when the answer is no, or not right now. I cannot tell you how many times I've been running to a panel, because oftentimes, like, I don't have money. So I will do a ton of panels to earn a free ticket or something like that. I'll be running to a panel that I have to give, so I can't be late. People try to stop me. I'll say, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm heading to a panel. I can get you afterwards. I gotta go. And they'll either complain or call me a fucking bitch.
What the hell?
I've stopped talking to friends because I don't mind at all when my friends get touchy with me. But at cons, other people see that and think it's okay. So I asked a couple of my friends to not do that just at cons, because I don't want other people seeing that and getting touchy with me. And they just kept doing it because, oh, it's fine, I know you. So I stopped talking to them, because if you're not going to listen to me with a fairly reasonable request, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, verbal abuse is never okay, for one thing. For another thing, if you say this is a boundary, that should be respected. You're a grown-ass woman. Mm-hmm. You have a right to say, no, don't touch me, you know?
If people don't listen to me in that, I'm usually in Harley at all the cons this happens at, because, again, she's a fan favorite. I'll just start shrieking at the top of my lungs in the Harley voice, cursing them out, just screaming, fake crying if I have to, and draw every single bit of attention to myself that I can.
Right.
Because they're not going to listen to me. They're going to listen to the embarrassment that ensues.
Rightly so. Would you say that you're kind of fetishized when you're in the Harley Quinn outfit?
Hands down, yes. I don't necessarily mind it because, you know, people have their own things. You can fetishize me and still show me respect by fucking keeping it to yourself, by not treating me like an object. If you want to, like, this is going to get a little graphic, but if you want to get, like, a fan photo with me and go jack off to it later, I don't care. Just don't tell me, and don't do anything inappropriate in the photo. It's the people that do that stuff without asking me and in public. That's when it's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped going to conventions because, especially that last time, I mean, I was like, what if the stormtroopers hadn't showed up?
That's why we always travel in at least groups of 2.
Right.
System.
The only reason you'll ever see me by myself is I'm running around trying to get a costume contest together. And at that point, I had a replica pirate blunderbuss that I had turned into a Harley gun, which is made out of solid wood.
I mean, the one on the photo behind you?
Yes, this one. This is solid wood and metal. And if I absolutely had to, I could defend myself with that.
Oh yeah, that's a deadly weapon.
That actually, no, it's not. Not as far as the con is concerned, because it's not a real gun. The inside is solid. There's no mechanism.
I was talking about it's just being made out of wood and metal.
Yeah, but I can carry it with me at cons, and it's something that I've never had to go that far, but it makes me feel better knowing that I have a last resort.
Right.
And I shouldn't have to feel good about having a last resort.
Right.
Or safer because of it. Like that last con that I went to, because of my first experience with the Truckies, I had a staff that I brought with me, and someone broke it by like trying to put their foot on it. I don't know what the dude was doing, but he broke it. And then somebody else stole it. And I'm like, you know, I had that with me in case something bad happened, really, is why I had that with me. So then as I'm going back to the room, I'm like, man, I really could have used that staff right now, you know? And then thankfully those stormtroopers walked up, but I don't know, it was just weird. And then doing research for this, I'm like, man, you know, at first I thought maybe it was just me.
There are signs throughout almost every convention now that say cosplay is not consent.
I really like that saying. I mean, it's perfect.
One of the biggest movements, and it's sad that it should even have to happen. Like, I know I've shown you photos. I can send it to you if you want to input it and just blur out his face because he has not consented to be on this video. Tying it back in. But there was this Iron Man that wanted a photo with me. Like, he was cool, attractive guy. I don't know this man. Next thing I know, he has his arm around my waist and me pressed against his side. I was just going to stand next to the guy. And gentlemen, if you think that being touchy is going to help you get a date, it's actually going to do the opposite. Was totally down to sleep with that guy if it had gone that way, but after that, hard no. Because if you can't respect basic boundaries in public, I am not going to a room with you where there's no one else around.
Yeah, because you never know what would happen. They're not going to respect you in public. They're definitely not going to respect you in private.
And for the guys who are saying, oh, I wouldn't do that, it's not a big deal, it's just a touch. I'm like, yeah, it is. But and for you, that might be true. But there's other guys where that is definitely not the case, where they will do something. And we don't know the difference. We can't automatically tell the difference. So to keep ourselves safe, we have to behave as though anyone could be like that until we have proof otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that most men out there, especially, and it's women too, but I mean, statistically speaking, women have a lot more problem with this from men, right?
Yes, and I noticed gay guys get this a lot too.
Yeah. But you know, people just don't seem to understand that you don't have a neon sign on you saying, hey, I'm a good person, I'm not actually going to hurt you. We're not psychic. You know, we can't tell if you're a good person or not. So therefore, consent. Like, ask.
Saying, oh, I'm a good person. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure Ted Bundy said that too.
Oh, he did, actually.
I'm pretty sure that that's a direct quote.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Ted Bundy was very much, for the time, a very attractive man. He was very charming. He charmed his way out of getting caught several times. It's not always going to be the creepy guy in the corner who hurts a girl or a guy or hurts another human being. It could be anyone. And that's why, like, who was it? I think it was BTK, who was actually like a church pastor.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was a pillar of his community. He was kind of an asshole and he rubbed some people the wrong way, but yeah, he was a church deacon, I think, and then
that's it.
Yeah, and he was also a compliance officer because he had this like need for authority and attention, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody would have thought that he was BTK. It was a complete shock.
The way that we have to kind of judge these things, going back to the whole consent thing, is if you listen to me on the little things, the little consent things. Because, you know, and I'm sure on these are drastic cases. I'm sure that, you know, BTK and Ted Bundy probably would have listened until they got you alone because they don't want to set off those warning bells. Right. But my point is, don't let people get away with breaking your consent just because they're hot, or just because, oh, well, he's a really upstanding member of the community. He's a pillar of the community. I don't want anyone to get mad at me. I don't think anyone will believe me. No, scream it from the rooftops. Tell him to get his hands off of you. Or her. I've had women do this to me too. They think it's okay because they're women, and it's not.
Yeah. No, there was a video I watched about I don't want to say her name, but a female cosplayer who was problematic. Like, I mean, full on grabbing men's junk and stuff and just...
I know who we're talking about.
Oh my God. Really, like, huh?
I said, oh, because I just remembered what you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if that, I mean, a woman doing that stuff, women should know better, really, because look at what we deal with every day, just in regular life.
This specific cosplayer, if it's correct, I'm just gonna say the name and edit this out later. I just want to make sure I'm on the same page before I make my next statement.
There was that one, and then Momoko. I don't know if I'm saying...
Yeah. So she's a special case. I never met her, but I have worked personally with Yaya. This cosplayer is kind of off in her own little world.
Which one? Yeah.
The one I've worked with.
Yeah. Okay.
She's kind of off in her own little world. A lot of people think she's kind of a sellout at this point.
Yeah, I think like after my first introduction to like Yaya Han as an entertainer, and like a month afterwards, I was like, oh, she's probably not who I think she is. Like,
she's not an entertainer though. Right. She's a cosplayer known for her tits, who made an entire line of cosplay patterns and fabric, and then to make profit, priced them way above what she knows cosplayers can afford. Most of her fabrics are $20 to $30 a yard.
That is ridiculous. How are you gonna make any sales doing that?
Because she knows what cosplayers want, which is a lot of the cool textiles or a lot of the different things. So oftentimes there isn't an alternative.
She wants to be the brand, the cosplay brand that everybody goes to.
The patterns that were published aren't normal people patterns. They're her patterns, and she's a really curvy girl. Not fat, but she's kind of a drastic hourglass.
Yeah.
Meaning, I had to completely alter a pattern that my friend got of hers to use, because when she made it according to the pattern, it fit her waist and it fit her hips, but there was so much loose in the chest that it was unwearable.
Right.
Wow.
So she doesn't sell her patterns in like different sizes dependent on body type. It's just one body type that she makes it for.
It's one body type. And the whole thing is she's partnered with, I think it's McCall's. So there are pattern makers who made the different sizes that I'm sure could have adjusted it a bit to make, and again, this is just my personal thing. I don't know, a lot of the insides on how this works.
Right.
I just think that, starting as most cosplayers do, she should understand that none of us have money. Most of us are doing it for the love of the game. All the money I make is from model shoots, and they'll sometimes request a costume. I've never made more than $60 at a con, which won't even cover a ticket in. And that's just selling like photo prints or I've sold a couple costumes. Like if I made a costume and I just wasn't feeling it, I'll sell it.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, it
Wow.
can be hard to make money at a con, like even if you're not just doing making cosplay outfits. I used to work for a guy who used to make things, and we would go out to Dragon Con every year until I stopped working with him. And I was this hype guy. I was going around the con on the floor looking for people who had really nice outfits, and just like, hey, if you want to get some fangs for one of your future cosplays, here's the guy.
Is that Horror Show Jack?
No.
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 I know he does
No.
a lot of cons. I've seen him at a lot of cons.
I think
We don't want to say his name because he might show up.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
honestly rather not have him show up.
Ugh. No. No.
Well, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
And it's sad that we talk about people like this because it just shows kind of on our part, but more on their part. I feel like on our part, I feel like on our part, it's more of just a passing along of information so people really know what these people are like.
Oh, absolutely.
But kind of a disrespect for your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost both the price range thing and, you know, doing things you think you can get away with, whether it be groping someone when you're the same gender because, oh, we're the same, it doesn't matter. Or,
it does matter, though.
Or like I said, pricing things way out of what you know most people's price range is.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking advantage.
Yeah. Okay, so another thing I have here is, I mean, basically, I went on YouTube and I was watching a bunch of videos, and some of it was pretty much verbal sexual abuse.
Yep. I've had a lot of things shouted at me.
Lord. And I mean, some of these girls were actual girls, like they were minors. You know, they were not.
Oh, yeah.
That happens a lot.
And to have that yelled at you, like screamed at you, that must be terrifying.
Especially
You know, if you're
when it's from an
16.
adult.
I've got a story about how one of my underage cosplay friends, she's like my cosplay little sister, handled that. I'm not going to say her name because I think she is still underage.
Mm-hmm.
But this girl, she worked Costumers with a Cause with me. So she did a lot of charity events. Her mom usually dressed up as Batgirl. This girl had a very good Harley Quinn. She had a really, really good, well, she had a good several things, but her best was Negasonic Teenage Warhead from the Deadpool movie, because she's almost a dead lookalike.
Nice.
She does, at the time, she was 14, but she doesn't look 14. She looks, if she's underage, if you thought she was underage, you'd probably think, you know, just shy of 18, still 17, but just shy of 18. But she was working an event with her mom and a couple of their costumers at a biker bar. Because they'll hold like they'll hold a ton of different like bike rallies for different charities. They'll bring in costumers because you know bikers will bring their families and there's kids running around, and relatively family friendly event for a biker bar.
I've never been to one.
I have been working an event.
I've been to many.
Now I feel like I'm missing out on something.
The only time I've ever been to an event, I was wearing that. Only time I've ever been to a biker bar.
I was dragged along to them by families. I have a biker family, so.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But this guy, I don't even know who he was. He was just one of the bikers. I don't remember exactly what she said he said. I think it was something like, I'd like a piece of that, or something like that. Something that's doesn't have any sexual words in it, but had a very sexual connotation.
Yeah.
And this 14-year-old girl in her full Negasonic Teenage Warhead outfit turns around with just this grin on her face, puts on the smallest voice she can and goes, "I'm 14 and this is my mom." And this guy just, according to her mother, this guy just shrank away and would not look them in the eyes the rest of the day.
I mean, rightly so. Don't be a fucking asshole.
Don't be a
And
creep.
I feel like we should teach a lot of underage, all of our underage girls to do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just get awkward and run away, they still think it's okay.
I mean, half the time it seems like if you show just the smallest sign of weakness, then they think that oh, okay, I'm gonna jump on that then.
Which is why you call them out. You turn around and you make it very obvious to everyone around you both that this man, this grown-ass man, is hitting on an underage. Nothing will make him go away faster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would like to take our oldest, like I'd like us to go as a family to a convention, but my oldest is 17. And I have this mama bear inside of me that could rip someone's head off with my bare hands if I'm not careful.
How's this? Go to a con with her and me. It's sad that I can say this, but I have had this type of thing happen to me so much that I am completely desensitized. My brain doesn't short circuit when people yell something gross at me or try to touch me. I almost take kind of a sick joy in getting to embarrass them now. So it's because I've been told that I'm mean and kind of a bitch for embarrassing people. And I'm like, well, what's the alternative? I'd either get kidnapped, raped, or I have to beat the shit out of someone. Yeah, it's not fun for them, but it's a diffusal tactic.
Mm-hmm.
So you're mean for standing up for yourself because somebody else is being a douche. How does that work?
I think that is a story of all of our lives, and not even just including in cosplay or at
most women in general have to relearn, have to be taught now because of what we're taught when we're raised. They have to be taught as adults that if it's, getting you out of danger or saving your life, be a bitch.
Yep.
Be as mean and bitchy as you can possibly be. Scream, curse someone out. I've seen cosplay girls throw their drinks at guys. And not just like in their face, like full on hurl a cup.
Nice.
Because nothing gets the point across like a little bit of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard through watching these videos, it seems like some of the conventions don't really seem to give a shit, and they don't have any kind of policies in place to deal with creepy or inappropriate behavior. Some
don't. The cosplay is not consent thing is really just within the last few years starting to come to the surface.
That's good.
It's not that they don't care. It's that the guys that do things like this are the loud ones who, if they get kicked out, will cause problems for these conventions. So they're trying to figure out a way to, not get their shit handed to them while protecting their people. I have seen a lot more security at a lot of conventions. I have seen, I had a Bowie knife guy. I told you about Bowie knife guy.
Yeah.
MetroCon, an anime convention here in Florida. Because of several things, I don't know what they were. I wasn't present. I actively try to avoid this guy. But I know one of his ex-girlfriends. And because of some crap that he pulled, again, I don't know what, probably something related to Harley Quinn, because he's definitely got a Harley fetish, has been banned from MetroCon. If he steps foot in that in the Tampa Convention Center during the dates of MetroCon, he will be arrested.
That sounds like a stay away order.
Yeah. Probably had something to do with the Bowie knife again.
I mean,
no, that was in private.
I'm saying he took it out of private.
No, he did something on the convention floor. And I don't know what it was, but it was probably something related to a Harley.
I mean, and a lot of these videos, women were talking about how, hold on. Yeah, women were talking about how they stopped playing as certain characters. Like one cosplayer said she stopped dressing as Red Scarlet, I think it was, Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch, yeah, Scarlet
Red
Witch.
Sonja. Red Sonja has a lot of skin showing. Scarlet Witch does too, depending on the version.
Mm-hmm.
But the comic book versions.
Sadly, and this is a reality, size does matter. I'm not talking weight, I'm talking height. I'm not going to call her a friend. Please cut that out. She still thinks I'm a friend, but I don't want to fight with her.
Okay.
I'll fill you guys in on that later. I know a girl who is 6 feet tall. Literal Amazon. She cosplays Wonder Woman, Red Sonja. I think she's got a Poison Ivy. She sticks mostly with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's kind of her baby.
Okay.
She rarely has issues, to my knowledge. Because she is the same height or taller than most of the guys that will try stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
She looks like she could smack them into next week.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to approach this woman, I'm 6'2" and 220 pounds. I would still approach a woman like that humbly, like, "Hi, you are literally an Amazonian goddess. How are you doing today?"
Yes. Oh, she's really good at what she does.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's got a Power Girl planned.
Nice.
I think there's one other, but I don't remember what it is.
Well, I mean, Marcus, that's the difference.
Death, that's what it is. It's Lady Death.
Right.
I would
That's
have
the
said
difference.
She-Hulk.
I don't think she wants to deal with the green body paint for some reason.
Fair point.
That would be a pain in the ass.
Well, she's got to do white for Lady Death.
Right. I mean, body stocking might work. But that's the difference, Marcus. That's the difference between you and like these douchebags. If they see someone they think is more vulnerable, or like a
key word.
Huh?
Think is the key word.
Right.
Because I'm 5'8" and maybe 135 pounds. Weight fluctuates a bit, sometimes a little over, sometimes a little under, but that's the average. I'm a 3-time Triple Crown champion in Sangam Taekwondo. I have been in martial arts for 10 years. I used to teach Rape Escape, PPCT, and Sharp clinics, and I have been told by multiple cops that I am not someone they would want to meet in a dark alley.
I am surrounded by badass women.
But the thing is, I don't look it. So yes, I could handle myself if it came down to it. I shouldn't have to.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've had, like at the conventions I talked about, and just out at clubs, I've had guys try things. And seriously, I'm not the one to fuck with, But, people just look at you and think, oh, you're just tiny. What are you going to do? They don't think, well, this person could have been studying martial arts since they were 8 years old, or just be a ball of rage, like.
The shorter you are, the closer to Satan you are.
Exactly, especially if you're a redhead.
All I've got to say is Napoleon complex. That's all I can add to this conversation.
My girlfriend is not even 5'4". I'm pretty sure I got a death wish because I call her short on a weekly basis.
I'm
it is how I'm going to die.
Short.